Turns out she's the dean of the school, which is the head honcho. And she's like, hey, just want to tell everyone, congratulations, you're the class of 2025. And I literally fall on my knees. Shocked. It was this day of deliverance for me.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Get to Be School. This is Drex, your host. I'll say it again. I'll say it every week. Thank you for being here. Thank you for giving us your time. It means so much. Hope you are having a fantastic Memorial Day if you're listening to this on the day that it drops. Grateful to all the veterans. Matt Dumas, last week's guest. He was in the Marine Corps. Grateful to him and his service and all the other veterans. Today's guest is a special friend of mine. He's here at Kellogg, William Adams. He's great. I approached him early on, took some persuading to get him on the show because according to him, he doesn't have unique perspective, which is the biggest load of baloney. As I was editing, a couple of things stuck out to me. One was he is a man of immense gratitude. I loved how often he thanked his professors, his family, his friends, all of his circle. He's just filled with gratitude, and that really shines through. The other thing that I picked up during editing was that while we were recording, I didn't catch his Allen Iverson reference. I didn't hear it. And I need to publicly apologize because it was so good. So see if you can find that little Easter egg. Will, sorry, you made a great reference and I blew past it in the interview, man. My bad. Anyway, one other thing, Leland is doing this great MBA admissions week. It's June 2nd through the 6th. I will drop a link in the show notes. Be sure to apply to that if you are considering the MBA at all. It's completely free. It's essentially a boot camp to where you're hearing from experts who have helped hundreds of applicants get into schools like Stanford, HBS, Wharton, Booth. Make sure you at least check it out. So I'll drop a link, and we're grateful to Leland and all that they do for the MBA community. And now, besides all that, let's get to the show. Let's get to the good part with William Adams. Will, thank you so much for coming on the show, man.
Yeah, happy to be here.
This was a long time coming. I'm so happy this is finally happening.
Me too. I'm glad we could do this.
You made my day when you surprised me with the text. I told Sarah, oh my goodness, we'll change his mind. He's coming on the show.
Well, the funny thing is when you first reached out to me, you probably remember I responded to just like a ha. And yeah. I think you were turned off. But the funny thing was for me, I was like, honestly, Drex, you have so many great people to interview. I don't think there is something necessarily unique that I can share that someone else hasn't already said. I will say you're a good, persistent salesperson. After listening to a bunch of these, it's a quality pod, and I recommend it to everyone. So thank you for giving me the chance to talk a little bit too.
You're so nice. Will, you're not like everyone else, and especially your career. So you are going to go to Bain. You've accepted an offer. Congratulations. But that is not at all what you were doing before business school. Do you want to give a preview into all that you were doing before?
Sure. I did my undergrad in business strategy, but I found myself spending a lot of time in my university's social impact center. So yes, I was developing a business skill set, but really it was through the lens of how do we do social impact, nonprofit, kind of good social stuff. Through that, got very involved in Teach for America, did some projects around criminal recidivism. And one of the big takeaways was the way you prevent people from going to prison is they never get into that pipeline. And the best way to do that is intervene as early as possible, which led me to education. On top of that, I love working with people. I specifically love interacting with kids and young people and kind of helping them develop their full potential. So Teach for America felt like a very natural fit for me. My wife, she is definitely powerhouse of this couple, and she had a job in finance working for an investment firm in Boston. So I went back for Teach for America and I said, hey, we're moving to Boston one way or another. If I can come do your program for 2 years in a school in Boston, I would love to do it. If not, I'll figure something else out. And they were super accommodating. They said, yes, we would love to have you come and do it. I taught in a school where probably 90% of my students were Spanish speaking. I speak Spanish. They did not believe me the first day. And then I would call their grandma, and all of a sudden Abuela and I are best friends, and the student returns, head down, very embarrassed about what he had said in my class. So I loved that experience. The second year was, for me, one of the highlights of my life. The first year was so hard. One of the hardest things I've ever done.
Wow.
But by the second year, I felt like I'd really found my stride. And halfway through, that's when the pandemic hit. Everything went remote. We didn't even do school at that point. It was just can we find our students? Do we know that they are safe, that they have food, and we will try and figure out some sort of system to keep the learning happening. But in reality, like we were just kind of at triage.
Wow.
But it was this interesting point because I was finishing up the program and I faced this decision. Do I keep teaching or trying to like figure out remote learning, or do I go work for a company that is kind of solving this remote learning problem? So I jumped in when it was really a pretty small company. And by the time I left, it was huge. Like I think the number was like 1 in 8 students were using our platform between kindergarten and 12th grade. So don't quote me on that. I might have the statistic a little long, but the point is like pretty much you can go into any school district and ask the kids like, hey, have you used iReady before? And they'll know exactly what you're talking about.
Wow.
So it was a cool experience, very fun to go from like in the classroom thinking about these 24 kids and how I help them to now we are looking at the whole school district and how do we make the experience positive for every grade level, every ability, influencing the decision makers to think about both the micro as well as the macro kind of implications. I really, really believe in the company, love the product, but I just felt like there was something missing. As I spoke with a few of my friends on the strategy team, someone actually said to me, you didn't hear this from me, but if you want to move into like a strategy role in an education company or really any company, you probably need to go into consulting for a little bit. And if you want to get into consulting, the best way to do that might be an MBA. And so for me, it kind of became clear over the next 6 months or so. In fact, I talked with John Colliker, who's one of my friends, and I know he's been on here, and he basically said to me, look, buy yourself 18 months of runway, take this slowly, start taking the tests, figuring out your schools, but take your time to make a quality application. You'll have great work experience between teaching and the education company, and then you're going to come in with an interesting story.
That was really your introduction to the MBA. I kind of assumed that the MBA graduate degree was kind of always on the docket.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that a graduate degree was on the table. I'm not sure which one it was going to be.
Okay.
A few years before all of this, my brother had gone through a very similar process.
Yeah.
It was interesting to watch him go through it and ultimately choose not to go to business school. And I look at his example and I think for him, that's probably the right choice. Like he's had a great career, continues to succeed. In my mind, he's a very good kind of counterweight of why you don't need to do business school.
Absolutely.
For me, it was absolutely critical. I wasn't going to get to my career goals without this important step. And I'll give you like one example. It was very, very interesting. Pre-Kellogg, I would try and join some of these webinars and meetups that they would do for TFA alums to kind of meet current management consultants.
Okay.
And I felt like I just wasn't getting any traction. And then as soon as I got admitted to Kellogg, again, this kind of like early admit, what do they call it? Like pre-MBA summer.
Yeah.
And as soon as the people heard I was from Kellogg, it was like, oh, cool. Yeah, me too. Like, what do you want to talk about? It was honestly kind of stupid, but they like opened the door. It's like all of a sudden, okay, I was actually talking with a friend about this and I said, it's silly because I don't think I was any stronger candidate 4 days ago. But now that like I'm affiliated with a top university, people see it differently.
And that's, if you're being honest with someone, that's the information you share. You touched on something that I want to go back to. John said to give yourself an 18-month ramp. Did you take that long?
Yeah, I did. I'll say I loved the application process. I bet you get a lot of people who don't feel that way. And I bet because they're scrambling. But for me, I took my time. I took the GRE. And first question I had for him was, hey, do I do GMAT GRE? I watched my brother really grind through the GMAT. I kind of felt like, oh, maybe they discount the GRE and maybe that's like too soft and they don't care about it. And John just shook his head. He's like, look, maybe if you're coming from like investment banking, but no one will care. Like you're coming from teaching. They're just excited that you're applying. You're going to have some interesting perspective. You do whichever test is easiest for you. So I took the GRE kind of cold. I did well. I think I was a little under the median on the quant and well above on the verbal. I'm like, okay, I just need to get like 1 or 2 more points and I think we're good. And I could not get it. Like every time I would just like switch, be like, oh, that one went up, that one went down. That one went up, that one down. I think I took it 2, maybe 3 times. I was just over rotating and just getting so fixated. And my friend Chaz just said, hey man, like stop it. You're good enough in this area. This is a full portfolio of work that they're going to look at, that they're going to value your own experience, your essays, your letters of recommendation. There's a whole spectrum of things that they're going to look at. As long as you are good enough in pretty much everything and you can really nail a few things, you'll be okay. And that was like so helpful for me to get off of this merry-go-round of just like, guess what? Another another like 10 hours of studying probably won't help me learn this thing about, I don't know, rates or whatever the problem was I kept getting wrong. And so for me, that was very helpful. And then I could shift focuses to getting my letters of recommendation lined up, figuring out the essays. That for me, I will say, if you're trying to figure out like what school to apply to, look at the essay prompts. And if you don't get excited about writing that essay, that's probably a good indication that that's not a school you'll be excited about, because the things that they care about are things you're going to ask about. And if that's what they're asking about and I don't care about it, then we're probably not a good match.
Okay, that is a wonderful piece of advice. Is that what you did? Is that how you decided where to apply?
So again, I think it was helpful to talk to friends who are more familiar with the space, because sure, I had done a business undergrad. I wasn't like a total stranger to business school, but I also had a very hard time sizing up someone with my background, how I would map to different schools. And so again, John and others were helpful in saying like, hey, basically you're not shooting high enough. Like you are capable of achieving more than you're giving yourself credit. I'm sure that's probably true. Still, what I did was I chose 6 schools, which was a ton, but this is 18 months. I had plenty of time. So I did Harvard, Yale, Wharton, Kellogg, Duke, and University of Virginia. For me, I felt like that was a good spread of rankings, but there are certain kind of themes that they all shared. Each one I could tell you specifically why I chose that school over all the other ones.
Okay.
And then it was interesting kind of going through the process. Harvard, I think they told me no before I even like hit submit. And I was kind of bummed, honestly. Everyone wants to go to Harvard. We were living in Boston at the time. And so you go visit the campus and it's just gorgeous. And it's like, okay, I'd love to go to Hogwarts. And if I can't go to Hogwarts, maybe I can go to Harvard. And so they were very quick to tell me no. And that's fine. It was good. Yale, same thing. They turned me down. Wharton was an interesting one. I got to the interview stage and 2 of my best friends were going to be there that year. And they both told me, hey, you know, like the odds actually flip. If you get an interview at Wharton, then there's like a good shot that you get in. So I had the interview, felt great about it, like crushed it. Like, okay, this is for sure going to happen. Meanwhile, I had my Kellogg interview. And let's just say when it was done, I said to Danielle, let's please forget that I even applied to Kellogg. It was so bad. Like it was terrible. And so we took that one off the list.
Okay.
We're waiting to hear back from Wharton, waiting to hear back from UVA, waiting to hear back from Duke. Get a no from Wharton, which was like the nicest. I think I still have that email saved. I just thought it was so like kind, where they're basically like, look, we think you're a great person and like very capable and we would love to have a spot for you, but we don't. I'm like, okay, sure. Like some years it works out, some years it doesn't. Like why didn't you tell me that, anyone else? But seriously, like kindest rejection. I'm like, if all girlfriends broke up that way, we'd be great. Anyway, I get into Virginia and I'm pumped. I'm like, yes, this is what I needed. I had visited the school. Again, beautiful campus. Clearly that's something I care about. I don't know why, but like I was feeling on top of the world. And then I'm thinking, if I get into Virginia, I bet there's a good chance I get into Duke. And I get the email from Duke. I'm in the airport. I open it up, call Danielle. I'm like, it says I got waitlisted. I don't know what to make of that. I kind of wish they'd tell me no. So I hop on with a friend who had also gone through the waitlist process, Landon, who you've spoken with. Yep. And he basically says to me, you need to figure out how hard you want to work to get off the waitlist, because their big thing is yield. They may be hedging their bets that they're worried you're going to go to another school. But if you're going to come to Duke, you're going to fight hard and they will kind of save that spot for you. But you need to stick with that. So I'm going into this thinking, well, let's see what happens with Kellogg, because it looks like I'm going to UVA and maybe Duke if I can weasel my way off the waitlist. And the Kellogg email comes. Long story short, it was like super cryptic. I didn't know if it was a yes or a no. Get on this Zoom call and this like Italian lady's there. It turns out she's the dean of the school, like, which is the head honcho. And she's like, hey, just want to tell everyone, congratulations, you're the class of 2025. And I literally fall on my knees. Shocked. It was this day of deliverance for me, because I was sure that it was not going to happen. I totally ruled it out. Yeah. And for me, it checked so many boxes. And truthfully, had I gone to Duke, I would have been like Team Fuqua through and through. Had I gone to Darden, I would have been like head boy. I was just so excited. Like wherever I went, I was going to be so committed to it. And I'm grateful that I'm here at Kellogg.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think that's a strength that you have. You commit fully. Wherever you stand, you commit. So let's jump into Kellogg then. Unfortunately, you are in your last few weeks, my man. Yep. So give the listeners the highest of highs and some challenges if you want to share those as well.
You're asking me about some of my favorite things. I lucked out with the professors, and I could go down and tell you something specific that each one of them have taught me, not just like how to do my job better, which is super important, but also like life lessons that I think are going to make me a better person. Like one quick example is Achal Basambu, who was my core curriculum operations professor, which is like everyone's least favorite class. That for me was like one of my all-time favorites because he just had this way of taking operations concepts and then applying them to life that was so meaningful to me. He had this one moment where he was talking about like identifying the problems in your system. And he had this like profound quote from this operations guru that said, understanding your system is like a teenager. And you have to ask yourself, why is she behaving the way she is? I just need to look more closely and love her. And then I will understand why my daughter is behaving that way or something like that. And I'm just like, this is genius. Or there's another great moment when he said, like, basically, you're not going to be good at everything. So you really just need to understand what is the 1, 2, 3 things that you can do really, really well, and then do those really, really well. And he said, and that's exactly how it is in life. Like, you can't make every relationship a great one. So just choose like your spouse and your kids and really focus on being a good person in your family. And you just get like those kind of lessons where I'm like, yeah, I thought we were in an operations class, but this is profound stuff.
Yeah, giving you family epiphanies in between the throughput functions.
Yeah. And as a result, I ended up doing the operations major. Didn't even do that on purpose, but I just really, for whatever reasons, clicked with a lot of those classes. So.
Oh my heck, I didn't know that about you.
Yeah, maybe don't include that. Right?
I'm so glad that you would say that.
I feel like this was one place where on every dimension, I'm like, I love the people I'm meeting. I think the classes are fascinating. The professors are all so good and so much expertise in their areas. I honestly feel like bashful, I guess. I don't know what the right word is, but hey, I came in here to land a job at Bain & Company and I did that. Yeah. Awesome. I feel very lucky to be able to say that. And so for me, I just feel lucky that I took a risk and it paid off. And I'm really proud of myself and grateful for my wife and all my friends and classmates who made it happen for me. Some of the highlights for sure have been the trip that they do at the beginning of your experience. I went to South Africa and as a result saw some cool animals, but also made some like really great friendships with people who are very different from me. Those friendships have lasted throughout these 2 years. And then I would just say really getting to know classmates on a deeper level. There was something really special coming back my second year in the fall, walking into class, looking around the room, being like, you know what? I have a lot of really good friends in this room. Like, this is going to be a super fun learning experience. And then that would lead over into whatever's happening outside of the classroom, different clubs and social events. And it really is rich. And I come away thinking like, wow, I have friends from all over the world in all different industries. And I love it. It's very, very cool.
How have you been able to make so many friendships without going out and partying every night, without going out to all the trips? You have 3 children now. You're not able to say yes to every invitation.
Yeah. Anyone who is watching this probably sees those bags under my eyes and knows that I now have 3 kids. So yeah, I think the one piece of advice that a buddy gave me was business school is a good practice space for the rest of your life as a busy professional. And especially once you kind of move into an executive role where there are going to be way more good things that you want to do than you will have time. And so you need to figure out how you are going to maximize the limited time that you do have and what you say yes to and what you say no to. So for me, one part was, hey, I'm probably not going to do a lot of homework. Or I'm not going to study for my finals. I mean, I will put in a few hours before I walk in and go and do it. But basically, my learning is going to be what happens in the classroom because when I get home, I just need to be a dad. And that was a very different mentality from undergrad and from all growing up. But that was just kind of my perspective. Similarly, I found the best time for me to make friends was at the hub. So at our building. So that's either I'm just going to be vocal in class and then I'm going to like really try and get to know the people I sit next to. And then also I'm going to go to like every event that we have during the school day or find times in between when there's just like downtime to get to know people. And I really just like pushed myself to find friends outside my comfort zone. It's very easy to kind of find people who are similar to you and stick together. And while I've definitely been grateful for those friendships, I've also pushed myself that, hey, what are kind of other dimensions where I can find people who maybe are different from me and could teach me something?
I think that is a very strong talent that you have, or maybe not even talent, just you obviously do that. And I think it's something I admire about you. I'm I'm stoked for all of your Teach for America kids to hear that, yeah, it's okay to not do your homework. You still get it.
That's not what I was saying. No. Once you get to business school, then it's okay to not do your homework. But you have to do your homework every day until then. No, you still turn something in. I was still a good teammate. I'll say that. But I'm not going to be over here on my own time practicing practice problems for the sake of practice. Talking about practice.
So let's now, in the last few minutes that we have, Will, what do you share with someone who was in your shoes 2 years plus 18 months ago?
If you're in my shoes, you got to go for it. Just try. Yeah. I mean, like, the worst that happens is you get a no. I got a bunch of no's. It's always funny. I mean, I'm so proud and excited to be going to Bain, but no one ever asks me, like, why aren't you into BCG? Because guess what? I was the exact same candidate and I got an interview with both of them. And for whatever reason, they told me no. And so the point is, people are going to make up their own decision. All you can do is put your best foot forward and something is going to stick. I'm a big believer that it's going to be the right thing for you. You can even go and make it the right thing for you. And that's where I was confident, like, hey, whatever school I get into, I'm going to go and I'm going to love it. I think there's also something to be said about talking with the people who know you best and making sure that they are on board with you doing it. And secondly, that they agree with how you were going about doing it. So what I mean is, for me, my wife was a huge part that if she was not going to be on board with me basically stopping my job for 2 years so I could come and have a great time at Kellogg and learn a ton and grow a ton, then it wasn't going to happen. And also she read every single essay so many times ad nauseum. And I'm just so grateful for her, for my parents, my siblings, my friends, because they were just this sounding board constantly. And it was helpful that they said, honestly, like, no, don't apply to that school. Yeah, you should skip that one.
Well, again, thank you. You were not like every other candidate. Your story is so unique and so fun. You have passion and you relay positivity. And I'm grateful that the listeners get to hear that from you. So,
yeah, well, I'm a rambler, so sorry we didn't get to more questions, but hopefully there's some color in it.
Thanks for coming on. This was great.
Yep. Thanks, Drake.
I don't know what changed your little heart. What softened?
No, I'm serious. I am serious. Like when you ask me, I'm just like, Drex, like, come on. There better be.
Just did me in, man. My little heart just.